major issue in Nigeria. Despite ongoing effort by government to address this issue, there's still a long way to go towards eradicating this problem in Nigeria. Dr. Joachim Ibezimako, SAG, a water and sanitation expert, joins us via Zoom to discuss more on this issue. Good morning, Dr. Ibezim. Good morning, Dr. Ibezim. Can you hear me? Dr. Ibezim, can you hear me? Good morning. Please unmute yourself. Dr. Zeji, please unmute yourself. Good morning. Hello, are you still with us? Good morning, Dr. Ibezim. Can you hear us? Please unmute yourself. All right, while we wait for the good doctor to tune in back to the station, I'm sure some of us are wondering why open defecation? Why are we talking about defecation in 2024? Hello, Dr. Ibezim, can you hear me? Doctor, have you unmuted yourself?
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
So we are discussing open defecation in Nigeria. And we're wondering, as of 2024, why are we still discussing open grazing? I beg your pardon, open defecation in Nigeria, you know, given the time and the season that we're in, I mean, globally, and then in Nigeria. Why are we still discussing open defecation in Nigeria? Why is it still a problem?
ODF is a persistent problem because poverty rates in Nigeria keeps getting aggravated. So the more people get poor, the more difficult to maintain their dignity. You know, open defecation is a violation of see people standing by the roadside or sitting by the roadside to ease themselves. It can be attributed to two things. One is poverty, the other one is behavior. And the people who are involved in development work often tackle it by trying to promote behavioral changes. But behavioral changes in an environment where poverty persists it can be very difficult to tackle. So that is a challenge. It is still happening because you see the level of poverty in Nigeria maybe 10 years ago and now you can look at the statistics. So more Nigerian population continues to grow and the population of the poor continues to expand.
All right, Doctor, what are some of the policies or initiatives, you know, that has been championed by the government towards eradicating open defecation in Nigeria?
Yeah, you see, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources has come up with a lot of initiatives because there is open defecation-free declarations that are done across local governments. That's the policy output of the government. And many local governments, many communities in various local governments have been declared open defecation free, starting from Cross River, even up to states in the northeast and Northwest. A lot of states have been declared open defecation free. And there's a process of verification and certification. So there are also periods where monitoring, effective monitoring and evaluation are enhanced. So the certification is easy. So government has also, in some states, you find some state governments have set up task forces to arrest people who are engaged in open defecation. And also, if you come, even in Abuja, Abuja is a city, because open defecation is just not a rural phenomenon. It is an urban phenomenon. And you know there's a lot of poor people in the urban environment as well. If you come to Abuja, the Rural Water Agency in Abuja, Rural Ruwasa in Abuja, Rural Water and Sanitation Agency in Abuja, built a number of toilets, I think up to 100 public toilets. And these toilets, to ensure that these toilets do not go into poor maintenance, they gave those toilets, they gave them to private people, I think those private people bought or lease those toilets as a business. So people use those toilets, you go there, you pay, you use. They have water. They have boreholes there, so access to water is there. So people can just take water, you use the toilet and you flush it to reduce. And it's quite, they put them in strategic locations. You know, so if you look around their neighborhood, you may find one. But if there are none where you stay, I know they have not covered everywhere. It's difficult to cover everywhere, but they can still make effort to reach all those places. I believe they have a map of the places they have reached. And another thing is, I think government have been encouraging people who have filling stations, eateries, and all these public places to allow people to use those facilities. So the campaign is still on, and I think government is doing it best. But the other arm of open defecation is the economic aspect. Till people are able to be pushed out of the increasing menace of poverty in Nigeria at the moment, open defecation will not be totally eradicated. Thank you.
All right, Doctor. So the main goal of the Open Defecation Free initiative is to ensure that Nigeria is open defecation free by 2025. I mean, how well would you say that this aim has been achieved given the fact that we have 1 year to go?
You know, we set targets 2025 or 2030. A guy in the wood professional will know that it is difficult to achieve those targets because you don't always targets when you set them, and then there are a lot of opportunities for learning because you may not really abhor not achieving them or abhor failure. You will have to learn lessons. What is happening? What is driving this thing? And how can we overcome the factors that are driving this? 2025 definitely will not be achieved. Targets for 2025 will not be achieved. But definitely lessons would have been learned. And it's left for us to put up our adaptive skills to be able to know why it did it and then retool. Because I believe the DG target says 2030, the federal government of Nigeria says 2025. I think it's an opportunity for them to look at the midway where bedeviling our achieving these successes, the targets we have set for ourselves, then they will be able to re-energize and be able to fine-tune the weakness in the system and push them forward. But I still insist that if there are no strategic efforts, workable strategic efforts to eradicate poverty in Nigeria, open defecation every open defecation free society will be a wishful thinking.
Okay, Doctor. So, given what you've just said now, could you just walk us through some of the challenges yourself, as an expert, you have actually encountered in the field trying to drive this initiative, and what are some of the lessons that you have learned, going forward?
Yeah, you see, one is, when you have talk of ownership of homes or land rights or whatever, you take it from that point. Many people are tenants in homes, They are just happy to live there and have a roof over their head. Morning, anybody who is in need of using a toilet will, to attend so Israel, will go and sort himself out. They go out and sort themselves out. So many landlords do not even have toilets in their homes. And if you do not own the property, you are not the one that will build the toilet. So these are things. Many people who are tenants are naturally constrained from making effort to own a toilet. The problem that if people have access to their own homes, their own personal hygiene will get better. They will have facilities. So that is one constraint we see all the time. Another constraint we see is, sanitation is more like a ladder. You move from one step to the other. People can start with ordinary pit latrines, online pit latrines. Then they move to the next stage, which will include lining toilets. Because when you line the toilets, you will have made provision for some protection of self and environment. Because the essence of the pit is to offer some level of treatment. It's at least to the water what was put into the pit, and so that you can it will not get full easily, and restrict flies and other rodents that feed on those things from spreading the diseases. So when people move from there and then they go maybe to the pore flush, and the pore flush does not require so much water. You just a cup of water, the thing is off and offsite. Then you talk about from there you go to the water system, and then even when you have the water system, it can be on site, it can still be off site. On site in the sense that you have a septic pit in your compound where the thing goes. After some time, it is dislodged. But if we have maybe a central sewage system, then that thing is moved from where it is collected to an off-site location where it is centrally treated. So those facilities are still not here. So it's an infrastructure constraint. We have an infrastructure constraint in that regard. Another problem we have with regards to open defecation, which we confront daily, people see it as a pleasure. Some people see it as a pleasure. You see that some people talk about the release. It gives them early morning. If you go to some villages early in the morning, when people want to take out their animals to where they can get pasture, that's an opportunity to ease themselves, and they like the free wind, breeze, where they find themselves. So it's a pleasure, a matter of a routine pleasure they want to indulge in every morning. So to bring everybody on board is possible, but not likely. I will put it at that. Because there are a lot of motivations that drive this. The message is going down, but the message has not really sunk down very well. So these are some of the things we confront, and most of those things cannot be tackled overnight.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. So if I hear you correctly, you mentioned that aside infrastructural challenges, there is also a challenge of lack of awareness when it comes to the Nigerian people and their attitude towards open defecation. So is there an available framework for public enlightenment and awareness, towards the threats, of open defecation that is available to the Nigerian people?
Yes, there are very many of them. I know there are a lot of jingles on the radios in many places, and this is a campaign that I have started even during the days of the MDGs. In the market square, markets now have toilets. Before that wasn't the case. Many schools have toilets, but the problem is that it continues to degrade, and the school authorities struggle to put them. One of the things the schools struggle to put together all the time is their toilets. And campaign on this is very, when you talk about hygienic education, is very well spread in schools. is in the market, and then even at homes. So people are getting the message, but there are these natural constraints of infrastructure, access to finance, access to property, owning a home is an issue, because beyond using public toilet, many people will not even leave their homes in the night to go to a public toilet that is located far from them to ease themselves. So how do they do it? Some people now have to find a convenient park, put it there in the morning. They can put it in their bag, even though when they get to a dustbin, they just throw it there. So there are a lot of issues that are being unearthed and that are being brought forward, so that the moment people can analyze those things. Awareness, public awareness is one of them, and we continue to create the awareness so that people can have an attitudinal change. People can adopt new ways of doing things, especially when it comes to things as important as sanitation.
Okay, Doctor, so you have mentioned a few infrastructural changes that you probably your organization has made in Nigeria, including establishing water systems for defecation. So my question to you is, given the fact that Nigeria has an issue of sustainability and continuity, is there a monitoring framework in place to ensure that these structures or infrastructure that has been put in place rather, that it continues to function continuously?
Yes, there is a management structure, a management structure for most of the Abuja. You will see that the rural water agency has built a lot of toilets. Unlike before, those toilets would have been built and just left open, and people will use, even vandalize it, and it will just go down like that. But now they didn't do that. They didn't just leave them there and say community you manage. No, what they did, they got private players and they gave them those toilets. I think those guys leased it from the agency, and they are running it as a business. When you use it, you see that people, cleaners are there. They're always there. Cleaners are always there. As they are living, they are cleaning it. This, even if you go to Day Market, go to Geki Market, go to Wuse Market, all those places now have toilets that are clean. You won't say, I won't use this toilet. Nobody will not say, I can't use this toilet because they have people who clean those toilets. So we are making progress. But the problem, the one that has, when you talk about, monitoring, continued management strategies for keeping those places alive, maintaining their functionality. People pay to use toilets. If people do not pay to use toilets, maintaining those toilets will be a problem. And that's the problem we have with schools. Because in schools, when you put some of this infrastructure in schools, it's desirable, it's important, but how practicable it is to maintain the functionality. Because students, yes, they will use it. They may not have water system in the school. So how will they wash it? With students, which of the parents will be happy to have the children abandon classes, going to fetch water from a local stream to come and clean the toilet? If you see a child or what doing that, you will think twice about still keeping that child in that school. You want to quarrel with schools. So these are some of the things. When you put these things in schools, it should be accompanied with water, because a good toilet requires regular water supply. But without water supply, it becomes problematic. Even a pit latrine, there's need for water at least to wash hands after using that toilet. So in schools, people do not pay to use, but there is need to keep maintaining that place. How do they fund it? Does schools have budget to buy tissues, make available water to run? So that is still a nut to crack. Then when you talk about part of the framework for maintaining these things is, yes, there are laws there, but the policy orientation for managing these toilets is that users should pay. Applies for water. So that's there, and to maintain the functionality. If people do not pay for those things, they will go down.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. And it's quite interesting that you mentioned schools, because most, especially the government-owned tertiary institutions in Nigeria, have very terrible sanitary and toilet conditions. So are there regulatory bodies who go around to inspect and ensure that these schools maintain certain standards when it comes to toilet conditions and sanitation? And is it under your purview as an expert, or let's just know if there's any organization or body who handles oversight functions of making sure that universities, for example, maintain certain standards when it comes to sanitation and defecation?
You know, primarily is the responsibility of the user of the facility to make sure at least that facility is left as you met it when you come there. If you are using the toilet, one is using the toilet. After using the toilet, before for you to use, for one to use it, you have accepted the standard, the cleanliness, the nature of the way it was. So after you don't make it worse. People should not, but people often do that. They make it worse, they have eased themselves, then they leave. No, the user has the primary responsibility to restore that facility to the state it was before he came there. Then when you talk about the larger scale, the school authorities should have a functional budget, an impress account that will make sure that those facilities are important, basic facilities. When you say something is basic, it means you need it, it's very important. So they should factor these things in instead of looking for big construction activities to do and maybe make money from it. But this one is a 3-day service. So it is important they do that, because if you have a social club building maybe a facility in the school, they will not come and say collect cost, collect user fee from it. So the school authorities that they have a budget to make sure those facilities. But I don't know. But it's left for the school authorities to come to think how what's running. I've been to a university before, one of the universities, not in Abuja, but one of the states, and just needed to. The only toilet you can use maybe that of the VC or the head of department. So some of these things are not quite very good. So the framework for managing the facilities in schools, the school authority has to come up with it. And I know that for primary schools and secondary schools, you have the Ministry of Education, they have or the public health units of public Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Health, going around schools, going around the hospitals, going around to see the state of some of these basic facilities, how they are. But ability to fund functionality, operation and maintenance is another thing, because our system is a system that is so corrupt. The budgetary allocation for those things maybe it doesn't matter, but it matters because that is scribbling down the value we have in international setting and in our health status, because we do not have meet the basic needs of our people.
Okay, so in your experience, which regions or states in Nigeria have the highest prevalence of open defecation, and why do you think that is?
I wouldn't want to go into that, because when I tell you, when you make statistics, they keep changing from time to time, and there is warships to time by the Ministry of Water Resources. And I don't know if Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is optimally using the data there, because information are being entered there on I think on a regular basis. In some places, monthly or quarterly. So I wouldn't want to refer to any region or Nigeria as the most backward in maintaining sanitation, open sanitation free environment. The only thing I can say is that where you have problem of people lagging behind in sanitation, it has to do with behavior, it has to do with cost, it has to do with culture, it has to do with infrastructure, and it has to do with poor awareness. So these are some of the issues, and it's prevalent across board, starting from Lagos to Cross River to Bonu to maybe any place, maybe Benue. Although it's prevalent, no particular
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ibezim. I will have to let you go now, but in just 2 minutes, with the recent rise in flooding in Nigeria, and it's very obvious that open defecation actually causes certain health threats, what are some of your advice to the Nigerian people to protect themselves, given the high or the increase in flooding in Nigeria now? Very quickly, in 2 minutes.
What I would advise people to do, you can boil water, because they say, well, what if you go to places like Canada or the US, they are often a boil water alert. Because when there is flood, it compromises everything, because flood misses everything, both the ones on land and one originally the water, they all get mixed up, and it compromises public health. So for you to drink water, even the water utilities are treating water, it becomes very difficult to have water that is of same quality at this time. So boil your water, treat your water at home before you drink it. That is the only way to reduce all this water burning, which is often prevalent when you have flood challenges.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joachim Ibezim. Thank you so much for your insights. Glad you joined us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure.
All right. Signature TV New Day continues with Abuja data protection and privacy. Do stay with us.